for
This conference will now be recorded.
I've now been told I'm being recorded, which I hope everybody else heard as well. We are recording this so that other people can join in and listen later on. Okay, so our motivation really was that we've been developing some really great curricula around dementia studies at Worcester since 2009. And we've had lots of experience of doing face-to-face teaching, action learning sets, professional development. And we know that that's a really good way of getting our research into practice. The problem is it only reaches a very small number of people. So our main motivation is to really make the work that we're doing more accessible around the world. We want to promote best practice worldwide. And we also want to connect people together. So people from different disciplines, people working in practice, in policy, in research, in healthcare, in community, and in providing support to people and families. So that's our motivation, really. Let's really try and make a difference. What we didn't want to do was boring e-learning, and we didn't want to provide the sort of distance learning that makes people feel more isolated and lonely than they already feel. So we put a lot of effort into making sure that the materials that we've drawn together engage people and connect people. And our other motivation was really wanting to raise the status of the work that we're engaged in person-centered dementia care. This is an extraordinarily complex area. It's nuanced, it's tricky, it's awe-inspiring, it's practical, it's difficult, it's joyful, it's all of those things that we know if we work in the field. And combining that complexity and that understanding with the heart and humanity that we need to deliver good person-centered care is our motivating force behind putting this distance learning program together. So let's have a look at the program itself. I'm going to take you through a few slides now that will help you navigate your way around the program. So hopefully we should be able to see those slides on screen, which they haven't come up on my screen yet. There they are. There it is. That's some of the delay. Okay, so you should be able to see a slide now which talks about our postgraduate courses in dementia. And there are essentially two routes. The first is the postgraduate certificate in person-centered dementia studies. Now you have to learn your way around some of the language around university courses. And a postgraduate certificate is made up of a number of modules, and a module is like a short course. In our university, they last for a 12-week period. And so in order to do your postgraduate certificate, you would take a number of those different short courses, those different modules, and you would build them up over time to come out with a postgraduate certificate in person-centered dementia studies. Each of our 12-week modules is worth 15 university credits. And to get your postgrad certificate, you have to get 60 credits. So depending on how many credits your module gets, that will then eventually add up to your 60. And you can take 2 years to complete all the modules to get your postgrad certificate. Alternatively, as we'll learn, you can just take one module. You don't have to sign up for the whole thing. So if you've got a particular interest, you might just take 1 or 2 modules. It depends on your motivation. The other postgraduate award that we offer, though, I've also put up on the screen here. And this is a very special postgraduate award in professional development. And that's actually a double module, so it's worth 30 credits, called the Expert Practice in Delivering Person-Centered Dementia Care. And that one's led by my colleague, Dr. Isabel Latham, and she'll be talking in depth about that in a few minutes. So I'm not going to steal Izzy's thunder, but that's a great award if you're wanting very specifically to look at issues around helping people deliver person-centered care within care settings. Okay, so that's the overview of the two courses. So let's have a look now at some of the modules that go to make this up. Now, again, in university speak, every module has a different name and number. So you'll see all of ours start MDem something or other. And MDem stands for Masters, because it's a master's level course in dementia. So when you come to fill in your application form, you have to fill in the number that you want to do. So the first module is in person-centered leadership, the VIP's approach, and that's my module. I lead that one, and I'm going to talk about that in a bit more depth in a minute. But just to give you an overview of the modules that we currently have available, we then have supporting people living with advanced dementia. Then we have enabling environments for people living with dementia. And all of those modules commence in September. So if you're interested in applying for any of those modules, you have to get in by the closing date, which I'm pretty sure is July the 22nd, but I'm sure Tracy will put us right if I've got that date wrong. So those three modules start in semester one, which is September to January, this coming September 2020. So then if we move on to the modules that are available in January to May, you'll see that that double module in expert practice in delivering person-centered dementia care, that actually commences in January 2021. And also commencing at that time are engagement and empowerment in dementia studies and dementia in the family context. And we'll hear a bit more about all of those shortly. Okay, so before we get into the individual modules, I just wanted to go through a few things about our guiding principles in developing all of our modules. And there should be a slide that takes us through that. Excellent. So all our modules have a multidisciplinary focus. We're a multidisciplinary research team of educationalists and researchers, and we come from a diverse background to bring you the very best in dementia care. And we expect that from that our course participants will come from a diverse background as well. Health care support, certainly, community, but also from obviously practice, research and policy, but also people who may be coming into dementia through the dementia-friendly communities route, so people from retail, people from business. And on all of our modules, the focus is on the person and the family affected by dementia. That is the fulcrum of our research and of our education. All of the modules, all of the courses are led by people who are expert in their topic. So they're either people who've done a lot of research in this area or who've done a lot of practice development. So you're in expert hands. All of the modules have a very practical focus. You know, we want to make practice better. That's why we're doing this. But it will really help you deepen your understanding of both the evidence that's behind best practice and also get into some of the theory as to why these issues are important. We also are student focused. You know, you are all our potential Worcester alumni. We want to ensure that if you've taken one of our courses, you're then in our Worcester club, and we can continue that connectivity then between different people around the world and in different areas. Within the modules themselves, these are postgraduate certificate modules, so you should expect to commit around 10 to 12 hours per week study. So this isn't a quick course. You can try and do it quickly, but you won't get as much out of it unless you actually put the work into it. And as I said, all of our courses operate over a 12-week period. So you're not signing up for life, but during that 12 weeks, you will have all of the dates of your study well in advance. You'll know when you're getting particular issues of work, so you can plan your workload on the module around that. There are lots of mini lectures, films to watch, things like this. We also have Collaborate seminars, which is an opportunity for you to come together with other people who are taking the module at the same time, to meet with your tutor, to have a face-to-face seminar. And they're great for getting that connectivity and the feeling that you're not on this on your own. There's lots of online exercises to do, often which will mean you having to collaborate with other people on the course. Lots of structured reading and videos with specific issues that we want you to attend to. You'll gain expertise at critiquing resources. This is a master's level program, so we want to develop your critical reflective skills so you know how to work through resources. All of the modules have practice-based assignments. There are no exams, but they are all assessed, so you'll have to hand in a piece of assessed work. And as I said, the status of these is at a postgraduate level. So generally, we're expecting people who've either got a first degree or who can show us that they can work at that level. Okay, so I'm now going to move on to talk very briefly about my module on person-centered leadership. This is a 15-credit module, starts 12 weeks from September, and it's what's called a mandatory module if you want to take the postgrad certificate. So if you want your certificate, you have to take this module. You don't have to take it as your first module, but sometime in the 2 years, you would need to take this module. But it also works really well as a standalone module. So if you just want a good understanding of what person-centered care is, this is the module for you. We make a lot of use of our VIP's website, which many of you will know about already. We're also developing a new observation of reflective practice during this module, so you'll get the opportunity to learn about that. And the assignment is planning and delivering a quality improvement program. So very practical, focused, and very useful space for you to really think about improving quality in the area in which you work. And on this next slide, really here just flagging up the Care Fit for VIPs, the VIP's definition of person-centeredness, showing you some of the core publications and key reading that we'll be expecting you to do, the Care Fit for VIP's website. And importantly, you know, this definition of person-centeredness underpins the 2018 NICE guideline on dementia. So within the UK, it underpins that National Institute of Clinical Excellence guideline, but also we know from our work on dementia strategies around the world that these principles translate well. Okay, so that's a whistle-stop tour through the program as a whole, and also from my module. And now what I'd like to do is to hand over to my colleague Mary Bruce, who's going to talk to us about her module on living with advanced dementia. See you later.
Thank you, Dawn, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mary Bruce, and I'm the module lead for supporting people living with advanced dementia. That's MDEM 4004. I would like to start by explaining why I'm so very passionate about this area of practice, and so very pleased to be leading on this module. As a nurse by background, I've worked throughout my career to support those living with advanced dementia to receive truly person-centred care. However, during my career, I've seen care that has been neglectful and dehumanising for those living with dementia and their families. And I believe we've, at this point in time, a real opportunity to get care right for those living with advanced dementia if we can work collaboratively to make change happen. This module, I truly believe, can and will inspire and support students to be able to do this. So, let me give you a little bit more information about the structure of the module. This is a 12-week, 15-credit module that can be taken as part of the postgraduate certificate or as an individual module itself. It will run yearly from September through to January, and it will comprise of all of the teaching and learning strategies that Dawn has already outlined. Within this module, there will be 2 final assessments. One will be a 1,000-word critical appraisal of an assessment tool used in practice. For example, a pain assessment tool, maybe the ABBY, the No Pain. And the second will be a 2,000-word assignment looking at approaches to end-of-life and palliative care. Please, please don't be worried or just focus on the assignments on this or any module, because the modules are so much more than just their assignments. And you will be supported throughout your journey of any module to get to the end point. So, a little bit more about the content. Through this module, students will reflect, question and critique everything that they know or think they know in relation to advanced dementia and end-of-life care. They'll reflect upon their own practice and that of their colleagues and their organisation. The inconsistent use of language will be our starting point of this reflection in week 1. And we'll look at those simple terms, end-of-life, palliative care, terminal agitation, to name but a few. They'll be explored, considered and debated in relation to how we support personhood in those living with dementia and their families. Students will be encouraged to ask questions where there'll be no easy answers, and they'll want to change practices that are embedded within the culture of their organisation. They will consider why the care for those with advanced dementia is inconsistent and often suboptimal, whilst identifying the numerous challenges and opportunities to meeting the holistic needs of those living and dying with dementia. This module will support students to develop their own skills and those of their staff to provide truly person-centred care for those living and dying with dementia. If you work in health, social care, housing, education, research or policy, in fact, wherever you work, if you are passionate about supporting people living with advanced dementia and you want to ensure equality and truly person-centred care, then this module is for you. I very much hope you join me in this module, and I look forward to working with any of you that want to do so. Thank you, and I'm now going to hand over to Teresa.
It's not actually Teresa, it's Isabel. I think Teresa has been having some connection problems, so I will speak to her slides unless she suddenly appears. So hopefully, Jen, if that's it, thank you. Many apologies from Teresa. I'm sure she has appeared, so I will back off.
Thank you, Isabel. I'm so sorry about that. The internet can be a very tricky thing, can't it? So thank you, Isabel, for stepping in. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Teresa Atkinson, and as Isabel has already mentioned, I'll be leading on MDEM 4005, which is enabling environments for people living with dementia. Environments are really important to each and every one of us. We're all immersed in environments all of the time, whether that's our home environment, our work environment, or outdoors. These environments influence the way we feel and the way we behave. This is really important to each and every one of us, but it's even more important for people living with dementia. So why am I so excited about this module? Well, I think environments has been something that largely we take for granted and has been very much ignored as a tool to help us to support people living with dementia lead better and fuller lives. I've worked in research around design and evaluation of environments for people with a large range of neurological conditions, including dementia, for the past 20 years, and I'm really excited that we've got the opportunity to develop this module and work together. I'll share a little bit now about the structure of the module. So, as colleagues have mentioned, this is also a 15 credit level 7 module. It will start in September every year, and it can be taken as a standalone module or can contribute towards the postgraduate certificate in dementia studies. Assignment will be by a presentation and by a 2,000 word assignment. Again, as colleagues have mentioned, please don't worry about these assignments. We'll be working through them over the 12 weeks, and I'll be supporting you to put those assignments together. So what will you be doing on the module? As Dawn's already mentioned, this is a very practical module. It's about helping you to make change. It's about helping you to support people within whatever environment they find themselves. So to do that, we'll be looking at why people with dementia need adaptations in their environment. As I've mentioned, we'll be working together to look to create optimal environments. So whether you work in a community setting, a care home, domiciliary care, whether you work with people living in their own homes, or whether you work in hospital settings, or indeed whether you're a planner, a designer, or an architect, this course will be really, really valuable. We're going to look at how the brain and the environment interact and why people with dementia experience the challenges they do. We're going to be able to explore what good design looks like, how can we tell the difference, and how can we assess our environments, and how can we make those changes. As I've said, this module is about change. It's about changing your practice. It's about helping you to develop really, really good environments for people. So I'm really looking forward to sharing this journey with you. We'll be hearing from lots of experts in the field as we go through this module. But what's really important, I think, are your voices in that journey, your experiences, and how people from different disciplines can share their practice and those experiences. So I hope I meet you later on the year in September and look forward to speaking to you later on if you have any questions. Thank you. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague who you've already met, Isabel Latham.
Thank you, Teresa. So hello everybody, I'm Isabel Latham and I'm going to be talking to you about the module that I lead, and that's expert practice in delivering person-centered dementia care. Now I'm really excited about this module because this module developed from a research programme that I was involved with, and the research took place in a setting that is my practice background, and that is care homes, and particularly around how we can train and support frontline staff to improve the care that they provide. And it's so exciting to see evidence from research turn from being just the research report and the sort of usual outcomes we might have to something that's really, really making a difference to people's lives on the ground. This is a module that has already run, and so we do have students that are currently going through it and are graduates. And so we get to see that real difference that's happening on the ground. The research that this module is based in explored using a particular approach to training and support, and that approach was called the Fits into Practice programme. And what this programme did was support frontline staff to reduce the use of antipsychotic prescribing for people living with dementia in care homes by improving their person-centered care and by using person-centered psychosocial interventions for people instead of the more restrictive practice of antipsychotic prescribing. And the research found that this programme was really successful, and in particular what was successful about it was a role called the Dementia Practice Development Coach. So this was the person who delivered the training, delivered the support sessions, held the hands of the people in the front line, in the care homes, to actually change their practice and change what they were doing. And these individuals, these dementia practice development coaches, were people who understood the Fits into Practice programme backwards and forwards, who were good at dementia care, you know, had really good instincts and really good experiences of dementia care, and knew how to get the best out of other people. And so this module is a way for you to become the dementia practice development coach for your organisation, whether that's a care home organisation or a different type of health or social care setting, including the community. So I shall now tell you just a little bit, as the others have done, around the structure of the course. So this is a 30 credit module. This is the one that's the double module. You can see a little bit of more information about that Fits into Practice programme by following the link on those slides, which will be available at the end of the seminar. This module starts in January, and if you choose to take it as a standalone, because it's a longer module, it's 30 credits, you actually become eligible for the postgraduate award, or you can use it towards the postgraduate certificate. So sometimes people might sign up for this one as a standalone, and then actually when they realise they enjoy studying and it's adding something to their practice, they might then go on and decide to change to do the full PG cert. So to give you an idea of the sorts of things you would cover on this module, first and foremost, you'll be looking at that Fits into Practice approach in depth and how it actually helps support those frontline staff to improve their person-centered practice and reduce different kinds of restrictive practices, not just prescribing. So that means looking at the training and support elements of it, looking at the different psychosocial interventions that might be used, thinking about what works in dementia training and what doesn't work, making sure that you can critically reflect on your own practice and on interventions. Because one of the things we really want to do with this module is make sure that the dementia practice development coaches at the end are able to go out and work in the real world and not just slavishly deliver one particular training program the same year in, year out. Any of you that work in learning and development will know that that doesn't really work because the world is changing so fast. Whereas by skilling you up to be able to critically reflect on the evidence that's out there, that means you can constantly keep your program, your Fits into Practice program, alive for your organisation. We also look at developing your coaching skills, the different types of evidence that might exist and how you might work out what's relevant to the sector that you work in, as well as looking at how you might evaluate your success and the success of the people that you may train and support as part of Fits into Practice. We'll also look at actually critiquing that Fits into Practice approach and how you might adapt it for your organisation or your settings. And that's really important to bear in mind, because I know we've got a lot of people on this webinar from lots of different backgrounds. Whilst the evidence base comes from care homes, one of the things a lot of the students on the course often do is adapt it to different types of settings. So that is something that Fits into Practice, and the module enables you to do. You will also, during the module, and this is why it's longer and runs across the summer months, you will deliver one cohort of Fits into Practice training and support. And this is so that you get a chance to do that with the tutor and with your fellow students who are also going through a similar experience. And you'll be prepared to in an ongoing way, reflect on what you're doing so that you can constantly adapt and refine your approach to suit your organisation and to constantly improve practice. So if you're interested in learning and development of staff in your different health and social care settings, if you've got experience of delivering training and development, if you think that aim of promoting person-centered care and reducing restrictive practices is a good fit for your organisation or those that you work with, and if you want to help promote change and improve practice from a really strong evidence base with the chance of doing that alongside other people, then this module is for you, and I really look forward to welcoming you on it. And I'll now pass you back to my colleague Mary.
Thanks, Izzy, and hello again, everyone. I'm going to give you an overview of the module Engagement and Empowerment in Dementia Studies, which is led by our programme lead, Chris Russell. Unfortunately, he's unable to be with us today. Well, fortunately, he's on holiday, so I'm covering his slot here. So first of all, Chris states that he wanted to lead this module because he has always had a keen interest in the matters it addresses as a practitioner, as an academic, and as a citizen and member of society. This is a 15-credit module, and again, it will run annually from January through until May. This module, as with the others, can be taken as a standalone module, or it can be used as part of the postgraduate certificate in dementia studies. And this module, as with most modules, has 2 assignments. The first assignment is a 1,500-word critical review of approaches used to promote engagement and empowerment for people with dementia. And the second is a 2,000-word reflective assignment on contributing to leading positive change using learning from the module. As with all of the modules, Chris says, please don't worry about the assignments. He will be there to support you throughout your journey of the module. The module, who is it for? It's for those working, volunteering in a wide variety of settings such as health, social care, housing, social prescribing, leisure and sports, just to name a few. What's the module about? Okay, it's about understanding what engagement and empowerment really means for people living with dementia. For example, in dementia-friendly communities, wherever and whatever they may be. It is about being able to comprehend better how people's aspirations and hopes for the future can be realised, and understanding how citizenship, as well as individual personhood, can be realised and maintained throughout life. Students will gain enhanced ability to understand and support the priorities of people with dementia and their families. And they will gain increased competence and confidence in helping lead positive change to realise these priorities. Throughout this module, people living with dementia and family carers have helped to play a leading role in the design and have contributed to all of its content. So, in summary, students will learn what engagement and empowerment really mean for people with dementia and their families. They will determine how they can help lead meaningful, positive change. They will understand better how the insights of people with dementia and family carers are paramount in directing good outcomes. And they will understand how aspiration and hopes for the future can be realised through citizenship approaches. Chris says that this will be a really exciting, helpful, interesting and informative module, and that you're going to have lots of fun throughout your studies. And he's really looking forward to welcome you to his module. Thank you, and I will now hand back to Tracy.
Thank you very much, Mary. So hello again, I'm Tracy Williamson, Professor in Family Care, for anyone who missed me at the beginning. But I'm here now to talk about the module that I'll be leading, which is Dementia in the Family Context. So a little bit about my background first and why I was inspired to lead this module. My background is as a registered nurse, working mostly in the NHS, where I was for 20 years. So I've worked more in that setting than I have in a university setting. And working by choice in older people settings, which wasn't everybody else's first choice, I found. I absolutely just loved working with all the different disciplines in those arenas. I mean, I even began work originally as a care assistant working in a learning disability setting in the community, and also briefly in care homes. So I've had a wide, diverse career, mostly in the NHS hospital, but also in intermediate care, that bit between hospital and home. And during that time, very much noticed that patients weren't always at the centre, like they were suggested as being. And in addition to that, family carers, I felt, were also sometimes an afterthought, you know, perhaps there when there's some discharge planning needed doing or something needed bringing in. So I thought there was a missed opportunity there to be more family focused as well as patient focused. So I then went on to do various work around service development and working in practice and trying to enhance the care experience, and then saw research as a route perhaps to enhance practice as well. And not just looking for what doesn't work well, but looking for what does work well so we can share that in a more appreciative way as well. So that led me then to think about developing this module, which I've done, developing it with family carers as well, in terms of the design and delivery of the module, and in terms of having some creative and interesting approaches to the design of the module. So I'll tell you a little bit more about its content now. So similar to the other modules, this one has 15 credits at level 7, so it's a single module, and this one will commence in January 2021. Again, you can take this as a standalone module, or you can use it as part of the certificate as well. And for this one, I decided to have assessment by a shorter written assignment, because I felt that a peer-reviewed poster, so in a supportive shared learning environment, having each other peer review some poster work was another good means of assessment to do as well. So hopefully that appeals to people. Okay, so I'll also tell you a little bit more about what you might learn on the module as well. So the emphasis of this module is around the experiences, needs, interventions and outcomes for family carers. So taking a deep dive into what exactly are family carers' experiences and how do we know what we know. And importantly, what kind of interventions are out there, either for the person that a family carer may care for, but importantly, what's specifically there for the family carers themselves, and do they work, and in what way, and in what context, and for who, under what circumstances. So that kind of depth of understanding about some of those support interventions, but also maybe looking at some of the family carer-led self-support mechanisms as well. So looking at how we develop resilience in people, perhaps enable them to support themselves as, you know, sort of a personal asset, or working with community assets, if you like. So we'll also be looking closely at some of the barriers and facilitators for support of family carers, and looking at that in a diverse sense, so looking at diversity in its widest sense, not just perhaps the more obvious ideas around diversity. So perhaps the setting that family members live in, whether they live together or live away, rural settings or town, city settings, and different kinds of support that might be in those places, people's employment situation, for example. So again, just trying to get that richness of family carers brought out through the module. And so, as I said, we'll be looking closely at strategies that family members use, and looking at the evidence base underpinning those, so such as family carer courses, and the modes of delivery of that support. And that will be in the context of the changing landscape, so how the landscape is changing currently around technology, how society is differing or changing at the moment as well, and technology as well. So what technology is being developed specifically for family carers, but what other technology might they benefit from, even if it's not specifically for them. So we'll have a deep dive into all those issues and come out with a much fuller understanding of family carers' issues and research evidence. So who's this module for? Well, like many of the modules, these aren't just for people working in health and social care settings, although they lend themselves very well to that. So yes, practitioners of all kinds, from all settings, clinical or non-clinical, absolutely this course would be relevant to them. Whether you work in education, or you're the kind of practitioner that works in research, or you work in a charity, social enterprise, for example, I think there'll be some very useful content in this module for you. But also those working in settings where family carers are. So, you know, employers, for example, how do they support family carers in their employment, and how are the experiences of family carers felt that work in organisations? So the employment side, I think, is a particularly big issue for family carers. So we'll have a much closer look at that as well. But I think it's important to say this module is also relevant to people who may not be coming to this in a work situation. Family carers themselves may want to come on the course, and we have had interest from family carers. So again, we're not looking in too narrow a lens here. We want to share that breadth of experience and knowledge and learning together. The approach taken with this module, well, I'm hoping it's going to be fun. I'm going to do my best to make it fun. But it's certainly going to have some sort of different interesting approaches along the way to develop learning amongst you. And importantly, it's going to be a friendly and supportive module. So again, I hope to see some of you perhaps considering coming on this module with me. Thank you. So we're now going to move on to the question and answer session, because that brings us to the end of all the module descriptions. So I'm going to invite my colleague Mike, who heads up our support team, and ask him to share with us some questions on the chat that have come up, or any questions that have been sent in, and then I'll locate my colleagues to answer those questions for you. So if I could be joined now by my team only showing their cameras, and that'll keep that connection as best as it can be, then I could see the hands if they raise them to answer a question. So for the team, put cameras on and keep muted until invited to answer. Hopefully that will work best for the connection. So Mike, would you like to join us and then share with us the first question that you have, please?
Yeah, we've had some questions coming in. Michelle's been quite busy on the questions. Michelle's asked, does the postgrad cert help add credits to a master's degree in the future?
Okay, either raise your hand or I'll nominate you. So is that one for you, do you think? Thank you.
Yeah, I can take that one. So yes, the intention is that in the future additional modules will be added, so that this can become a full master's programme. Obviously for the moment we've got enough there for people to have a good range of choice and work towards the certificate, but if you were to join that programme, we would obviously be able to keep you in the loop about developments.
Okay, a second. Oh, go on, Dawn.
Yeah, and we're currently looking at what some of those additional modules might be like. So we're having some quite interesting discussions about whether we should have a module around arts and creativity, around sport, around rehabilitation. So it's really coming in at the postgrad certificate level, helps us, you know, it means that our students can then be part of thinking about, well, what next? What other modules should we be putting? Be putting forwards.
Okay, thanks. The next question was, do all assignments need to be handed in at the same time?
Mary?
Hi, no, all the assignments won't be handed in at the same time. What will happen is each module will set specific dates for those assignments to be handed in. Often it's 2 times throughout the module year. So I know for mine, I'm looking at assignments being handed in I've got it up on my whiteboard there behind me in I think October, November and in January. So you've got 2 times. And as a group of module leads, what we'll be doing is we will be coordinating our hand-in dates, so that if you happen to be doing 2 modules, then people wouldn't necessarily be handing in all assignments in at the same time. So no, they won't be all at the same time.
Okay, this might be one for Izzy, I think. Are there scholarships available for the courses?
Well, I will answer it. Somebody else may have a little bit more information. Currently, no, there are no scholarships available. However, what I do know is that a number of our existing students are either funded by their employer or having gained funding through charitable funds or bursaries that are available not through the university. So it's worthwhile having a conversation with your employer's learning and development department about that.
I think I can add to that as well, Izzy, that this is a commonly asked question, really, and coming from a practice background like many of you, this is a real issue, isn't it, trying to get the funding for these things. Now, before we get onto the time, everybody, I mean, to make it more manageable, obviously the fact that we've got modules that can be taken spread out and individually, being aware some people may have to part or full fund is hopefully helpful. But I generally signpost people to professional bodies, those that are lucky enough to come from those. So the Royal College of Nursing, Royal College of Occupational Therapy, therapists and so on, sometimes have schemes. But there are also some online search databases like Research Professional, where you can put in key search terms and actually ask for those kinds of funds to be flagged to you, and you can get sort of regular email updates. So I'd suggest that people speak to their employers, those of you that work in organisations, to ask to learn how to get on those databases and how to set your search terms. And if anybody else doesn't have that kind of support at work, by all means contact us after and I'll give you a couple of links. Thank you. Mike?
Yeah, there's a question from Charlie about how do people access the course and what qualifications they need. And going back to Michelle, she also said about if for potential learners, is there a minimum pay band level? Would a band 5 nurse with a first degree be eligible? So there are a couple of questions in there.
Dawn, would you like to begin that one?
I can do, but I am keeping freezing, so if I dip out, then come in. We've set this at a postgraduate level, so it's very straightforward. If you already have a first degree, wherever band you're working at, if you've got a first degree, you've already demonstrated that you can work at this level. Now, we know a lot of people who work in health and social care are well able to work at this level, but they will never have got a degree. So what we ask with those students, those potential students, is that you do a piece of writing before you come on the course. I think it's about 500 words, something like that. And it's really just for us to be sure that you're going to be able to cope with that level of assignment and assessment. And I have to say, you know, when we've run this course in the past, actually virtually everybody that thinks they can, you know. And the beauty about distance learning courses is that we've got lots of really good online resources that if you're anxious about your academic writing, and many people are, even if you've got a first degree, there's plenty of other practice work that you can do. So, you know, if you're worried about being able to keep up from the academic writing side, make sure that you put a few hours extra in at the beginning of the course, really to explore some of that material, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Thank you.
Okay, there's another question. We'd had that previous one about did assignments all have to be handed in at the same time. This one was about, is there any particular order in which the modules have to be taken?
Dawn?
No, not really. You can, the courses all start, you know, mid-September and mid-January, and you'll have the dates very clearly in advance. I'd suggest you start with the module that most interests you, you know, because that'll get you into the habit of studying. As we said, with the postgraduate certificate, at some point you have to take my module, but you don't have to do that one first. And most people are studying, you know, very a part-time whilst they're doing busy jobs. So, you know, you need to fit it in with what else is happening in your life as well.
Okay, have we got time for a couple more?
Yeah, people can always sign off whenever they want to.
Okay, question from Stephen. Does the 10 to 12 hours per week include the lectures, seminars and online exercises?
Yes, Dawn?
Yes, it absolutely does. So it's quite difficult when you're designing an online course, because you're trying to guess how long it will take people to do the reading and to do the watching the lectures and to enter into the discussion board and to do their collaborate seminar. We're quite generous with the time that we think it would take people to do. So, you know, if we're saying 10 to 12 hours, you shouldn't be spending 20 hours on it. So, you know, but it's the whole thing. And so I think if you're planning to do the course, you know, either make sure that that's, I don't know, when your study time is, whether it's 2 evenings a week or whether it's all day on a Sunday or whatever, but you'll need to, the people who do best do, if they block it out and they are a student for that time and they engage with the materials. But it should be, that's the top level, the top time limit that you should be aiming for.
Okay, another one here. I'm going to drag Izzy in again. I think I'm doing well with Izzy getting there in. Beth has asked, I just wondered if in your experience, students' employers, organisations are usually supportive of them implementing things they've done in the modules in the workplace, for example, the FITS programme or doing a quality improvement programme. In other words, is employer buy-in important, essential?
It's a really good question, and I'm glad there's a chance to sort of talk about it, not just on the chat, because I think it is kind of the sign of the right kind of mind for our modules, I think, not just for my one, but for everybody's. Students' experiences vary because organisations vary. I think what I would say is that facing barriers and facing challenges is par for the course whenever you're trying to improve practice or change practice. And because our modules are very based in practice and helping you make those changes, and we all ourselves have got strong practice backgrounds, the modules are very much built to support you to deal with those challenges and barriers that people face. I think it's also important to note that even if you were to face incredible difficulties with making any practical changes based on your learning, there are still ways that you can complete your assignments and pass your assignments, because it wouldn't be fair for you not to be able to show your learning and get credit for that learning simply because there were barriers outside of your control. So employer buy-in is always helpful, but it is not essential. And we do have a number of students who fund themselves either because they're between jobs or because they can't quite get their employer on board in time. And most manage to make some kind of change. So that would be my answer for that one.
Okay, this is probably the final one. There's a question about would other universities recognise the qualifications? And I suppose linked to that, we've had other questions about whether we recognise other people's credits.
Sorry, that's me again. Yeah, so basically every university in principle accepts credits from other universities at similar level. However, every university has a process that they have to go through. And so we can't speak on behalf of a different university. But in principle, if you have 30 credits from X university at level 7, it is worthwhile asking another university if they would accept that as some form of what's called accredited prior learning. With regards to us on our modules, we do have a process for accrediting prior learning. So if you have previous qualifications at a level 7, when you're thinking about applying, if you have a conversation with the course lead, Chris, whose information is available on the application pages, he will explain to you that process and how that is organised. You can't transfer more than 30 credits. So, you know, obviously that means you can't have done almost an entire master's at a different university and then just top it up with 15 credits. There is a limit, but there is a process for that.
Okay, thank you. So if there's any questions we've missed, I'm sure we can send them out in an email when we send out the link to the video for people later. So if we haven't answered your question now, don't worry, we will do, or you can get in touch at any time, everybody. And just to reiterate, the closing dates for the first set of modules is July the 20th and the second is November 30th. So that brings us to the end of the question and answer session from us. So my team's going to step back now and then hand you over to Professor Dawn Brooker just to bring the webinar to a close.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tracy. And I'd just like to really thank all of my team for putting this webinar together. You know, you can see from the backdrops, you've been welcomed into the homes of people because we're all working in lockdown at the moment. You know, and it is a very different way of working. I know all of you that have signed in today know this. And thank you also for Mike and Jen, who've been working behind the scenes to really make this go as smoothly as it can. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope we've managed to answer your questions. If you've got other questions, email us. You know, we are a friendly, approachable team. We want to get the right people on this course. So, you know, just get in contact with us if you've got other questions. So thank you all for coming and attending, and we really look forward to seeing you in a virtual world again, either in September or January. Thank you very much.